Hey, just want to say thank you real quick because the last three videos have done really well for the handstand series, how to master the handstand. And yeah, just saying thank you. Appreciate you, gang. We almost at 230 subscribers, like 70 away from 300. I did not expect it to get, grow this fast. I appreciate it. Trying to maintain consistency. So this video is basically about on people who are wanting to start their skill training, but they don't know when would be a good time. So I'm here to like kind of break it down for y'all because YouTubers kind of have like mixed opinions. Some say that you could start right away. Some say you have to be able to do a certain amount of reps per exercise. Like you need to be able to do 20 push-ups before you start doing your handstand push-up journey. I'm gonna break it down. So I've been training for about 7 years, and I've done about probably every single mistake you can do in the book 3 times, in every other way, backwards, upside down, left, right, joystick controls. I've done it all, and I can say for certain that there is no one way to get skills when you're training for them. So you can definitely start off training your skills at a very, very so-called weak point in your fitness journey because there is so many progressions that there's always there's always a spot for you no matter what level you are. So let's say you just got your first pull-up. You are actually able to train for your one-arm pull-up if you pick the right progression. And for example, you could probably do a easier variation of the archer pull-up. You can just do a pull-up and just lean on one side while dropping down and focusing on the one arm, the one that you eventually want to get the one-arm pull-up. So it is definitely possible to get start training your skills at a very, very early stage in your calisthenics journey. But the reason why it's very important to develop the base or develop a good amount of strength and being able to do several reps of several different exercises, being able to do like 50 push-ups, 20 pull-ups, 50 squats, 50 leg raises, all those numbers, the numbers are pretty arbitrary because, you can start off with doing one, but more the better. The reason why that is because the stronger you are, the easier of a time you'll have progressing through these progressions. Because all these skills are predominantly strength focused. Some of them have skills or like some balance or coordination that you need to focus on, like form wise, some tweaks you may have to focus on that will definitely impact the skills, your ability to perform the skill effectively. But the majority of the time, it's just a lack of strength. So you can begin your strength training, very early, and, just having that base makes it a lot easier. So we give an example for the person who can do overhead press. Let's say they're 135 and they can overhead press 135. It's very likely they can skip a lot of progressions, such as they don't need to do an elevated push-up, then the pike push-up, then the perfect pike push-up, and then the negative handstand push-up. It's very likely they have enough strength to be able to go on the wall and just do a handstand push-up. They may have some trouble coordinating, but there won't be as big of a gap as someone who is 135 and they can only overhead press 60 pounds. The added strength and the ability to generate force comfortably, it just makes the whole process a lot easier if you are stronger. It doesn't mean you're most likely to get the skill, but it definitely makes the journey a lot easier when you're performing these moves. There are people who are able to just overpower a move straight up just because they've been only doing strength training. Like there's certain street lifters like Matthew Ziad, or there's plenty of street lifters who compete in just weighted pull up, weighted dip competitions, and they're just freaks of nature when they do skill movements. So there's definitely some carryover by just training for strength alone without having to train for the skill itself. But if your end goal is to train for skills, you definitely want to have some base level of strength along with the actual practice of the skill, because it just makes the whole thing a lot easier to do. So how do you know, like, what's like a good amount, like so you could skip a good general amount of progressions? I definitely suggest the more the better. There's never really a good number you could pick, but for my standard on what you would consider like you mastered this thing is you're able to do several variations, you're able to do it at several different tempos, you're able to hold the position without shaking, and you're able to do it with some type of variable that's like out of your control. So such as stability, maybe you can add weight to it. If you can do all that going through the entire range of motion for several repetitions or for time. And for time and repetitions, it's a pretty gray area. So it can be like, for push-ups and pull-ups is going to be a big difference, obviously, because one's way more harder than the other one. But you get the picture. It's kind of just like, the more you can do, the better. And I can't really say, oh yeah, you should be able to do 20 pull-ups, you should be able to do 30 pull-ups. As long as you're able to do the movement effectively, proficiently, with weight, slowly, fast, for a long amount of time, if you can basically do every possible variation comfortably and do the very basic move, like the regular version of itself, for a lot of reps, and a lot of reps, maybe just like anything over 10 all the way up to 50. That's how big their range can be. So that's why I don't give a solid concrete number. So one of the ways you can essentially know how to skip technically a progression is just by doing regular strength training. When I actually did this experiment where I focus on purely strength training and weighted dip training for my planche push-ups. And what I noticed was when I trained my planche and my strength training, I did get good results. But when I just trained my strength training, I actually got just as good results with the planche push-up. Now notice when I say planche push-up and not the planche hold, because those are very two different things. One just requires a lot of bent arm strength, and if you could swing, or if you can swing good enough, you can crank out planche push-ups with just dip training. And I found that out, which was actually crazy to find out. But after, like a few weeks of just strictly weighted dip training, I wasn't able to actually increase my planche hold. If I did, it was probably like a second, but there's too many variables in accounts such as body fluctuation, water intake, stress levels, stuff like that would have had an impact that probably would have affected that one extra second. So the results weren't big enough to take in consideration. As for like optimizing your strength and skill training, I definitely recommend that you do both, but you have a really strict emphasis on one or the other, and whichever one that you're lacking. Most of the time, it's just the strength element. So if you can just spam strength training and put in the practice of the movements, then you should be fine. And it's like, and I learned this also from gymnastics and like 7 years of doing calisthenics. There's no one way to do it. You can practice your skills and just get it and just be good at that one skill. You can just brute strengthen and overpower and learn the skill, or you can do a bit of both. It's honestly whichever training preference that's working for you and your lifestyle. And as long as you're doing it consistent, I don't know why I can't speak. If you can do it consistently, you will be fine. So, and for me, how I do it, or how I usually train for skill training, if I have time, I'll just train the skill for like 30 minutes, like just planche leans in several different directions or variations. And the next day or a few days after I recover, I just brutally just destroy my shoulders with like handstand push-ups and like one-arm handstand practice. So I hope that video helps. Gonna continue posting, try to post at least once every week or two, and I hope you guys have a good day.